Day one is in the books and we're on to day two. So here are some of the best prospects available going into day two of the draft. And what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know, so go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. Let's go ahead, get into this sucker because I'm sure you're eager to hear. But let's start with Will Levis. Obviously, he's probably the top prospect for a lot of people, unless you outright hate him. And I know there's a lot of haters out there because, I mean, he comes with his criticism. The ball placement's a bit all over the place. The decision making could be bad at some times, but he's got the arm talent. He's got the arm velocity, nice sturdy build, plus mobility. And he operated a NFL offense the past 2 years under Liam Cohen. And I forgot the name of who his OC was this year, former Niners quarterback coach. But he can make NFL play calls in the huddle. Like, this is a dude that operated an NFL offense for the better part of 2 seasons with NFL reads, NFL passing concepts. And on day two, I think he's going to be in high value. I think he doesn't last the top 40, 45 picks. And you're going to notice the landing spots there. Lions, I know Lions fans are going to hate that. So it is what it is. I mentioned it just because Goff is kind of expensive. Maybe you have you could use a second round pick on Will Levis. See how he looks backing up Goff for a year. You get to see him personally in camp. And then you could, in the 2024 draft, you can kind of do whatever the heck you want at that point. But I firmly think the Rams and the Raiders are going to be the teams in play on day two, especially now that you're not using a first round pick on them. There isn't that stress of, oh, we wasted a first round pick on this guy. It's like, okay, well, we took a shot on someone on day two and it didn't work out. Like we kind of see teams that kind of don't have that pressure, like the teams that got Matt Corral, Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder. Granted, those are third round picks and later third round picks. So it's like, yeah, there's really not that much pressure to move on from those guys. Like, but like if you do this in the early second round, there's gonna be a bit more pressure. I think with the Raiders though, I think that's actually a really good spot. Jimmy G, you can sit there for a year. And then you can get off that contract. Yay! Hey, we got our heir apparent here. Don't worry about it. I really think the Raiders are going to be a team in play for him. Raiders too, like Liam Cohen. He was there last year. He was the OC for Kentucky in 2021. So the Rams are going to be very familiar with Levis. But let's keep this moving. With two, I'm going to give you my top 10, and then I'm going to wrap it up with 20 other prospects, and I'm not going to highlight them as much as I want to highlight these guys. But Joey Porter, man, he's an obvious one for a lot of people. And I only put the landing spot for the Steelers because if he gets past the Steelers, Joey Porter Sr. ain't going to be too happy. But he was my 13th prospect, my cornerback 3. And why does he slip? I don't know. Could it be the penalties, the feisty style, the handsy play? I mean, honestly, in 2022, there were some plays he took off. And I mean, I pointed that out if you follow me at the beginning of the college football season when I did, after coming out of my summer deep dive, I was like, man, felt like in 2021, the Maryland game, I found he took some plays off. He left it on the field in some cases, but he's still a wonderful prospect. Like, it will really shock me if he makes it past the Steelers with pick 33, or I guess technically 32. So we'll see, man. I don't want to speak that too much into existence. Other landing spots, I think the Cardinals immediately after, they opt not to go defense early on. Corner is a huge need. They have the worst cornerback room in football. So, like, if he ain't going to 32 to the Steelers, I think 33 is a prime spot for him. Even 34, like, he's a prime spot, honestly, for any pick in the top, in the top 40. So I expect Joey Porter not to last very long on day two. Next, I got my boy Eddie Tamnoa at Abari. I understood why he was going to fall. I'm a lot higher on him probably than the NFL and even consensus, like the consensus boards of analysts. And I knew that. I've been preaching that like the last month. Like, I know I'm higher on this guy than the consensus. I really don't see him going in the first round. And it wouldn't shock me if he were to fall into like the 50 range. We know this dude's a phenomenal athlete. His test numbers were absurd. 34-inch arms. At 6'2", he's stout, and then he's got leverage. It just makes it tough for guards to deal with. But probably the biggest worries is in the run game. How will he handle run fits? Can he work off double teams? Not likely. So, like, I really think that's probably the holdup, and it might take the right spot, right team. I know Lions fans are like, what, 34? Oh, that's insane. Don't worry. I really think, again, he goes in the 50s, and I'm kind of seeing him maybe for 55. Or at least at pick 55 for the Lions. For the Chargers, that would be pick what? Trying to find the pick 54. So 55 or 54. Could go earlier than that. Like I said, I knew I was higher on him than the general consensus. Kind of is what it is. But let's move on to Brian Branch. Didn't shock me at all. I was saying this during my live stream, which, by the way, we're doing it again for day 2. We're here all 3 days of the draft live streaming. But a guy that's like, generally is like, okay, you probably start this guy early in the slot. Not to say he can't play other positions. Like, I think he can start out wide at corner. I think he can play in a split high. Not necessarily a guy you want as like a center fielder or a freelancer, but he can play in a split high. It's just, he doesn't have really the size to take on guys in the box. So yeah, you kind of playing him either coming downhill or out there on the perimeter. Or in the slot out in space, because like the dude's great. It's just slot is, if you really view him as a slot player, maybe only, which I think much of the NFL does, and is why he fell, then you're not going to value him as much, because slot is kind of a dime a dozen. A lot of guys can play it. Not a lot of guys can do it exceptionally, like to an exceptional level, but there are those guys out there. So it did surprise me he fell out of the first round. The top landing spots I have, the Steelers honestly picked 32. Like there's no one that's playing the slot there. At least, well, maybe sneaking Fitzpatrick, but I mean that's a guy you want kind of playing center field. And if you're gonna be playing Siegel high, the Packers, Joe Barry, like technically he should be a good fit there, but man, I worry about Joe Barry, how he typically plays his safeties or his slot players. But the Patriots is a good fit, replace Miles Bryant. So those are some of the landing spots that I think he may go. Moving on to Osiris Torrance. Didn't shock me that we didn't see any of the interior players go in the first round. I didn't think there was that one guy that was like, oh man, can't miss. I thought there was like some solid guys, and I think there will be. I think we might see a run on those guys, especially some of the centers early second round. But Osiris Torrance, mountain of a man. He's not for every scheme. Not much of a people mover, but more of a, you're not going to overtake me. I'm going to engage, and you're stuck with me as a dancing partner throughout the play. So he's not going to be right for every scheme. That's why I kind of listed the Colts, the Raiders, and the Commanders is a bit of a question mark for me, because like depending on what Benemy does with the offense, maybe he's not a great fit. So let's put quotations around the Commanders. But I definitely think the Raiders and Colts are actually really good spots. The Colts get Will Freeze out of there. So they got right guard spots wide open if they want to take him on. Next here we have BJ Ojulari, much like his brother Aziz, who I absolutely loved as well. I think I had him at 22 on my big board back in the 2020 draft. I loved Ojulari. I loved BJ, dude. Phrasing, right? He was 29th on my big board. 6'2", 248. Get it? He's undersized. He's a finesse rusher. He's a guy you're gonna have to worry about how he handles and how he plays the run game. But what he brought, like, he has probably the most complete toolbox of pass rush moves in this class. He just knows how to rush the passer, and it didn't surprise me that he would fall. I think he's gonna come off very early on in the second round. Like the Rams, I think are a team that are primed to get him. I would love to see what Evero would do with a guy like this across from Brian Burns. The Jags, depending on what the future lies for Josh Allen, maybe you're looking for that eventual replacement. But I do think the Rams and the Panthers are actually two of my favorite spots. But didn't surprise me that Ojulari didn't hear his name called. He's just so dang good, man. He really is. And then I have DeJuan Jones. He's 31 on my big board, and it didn't surprise me. I was saying I feel like Anton Harrison or DeJuan Jones, one of those two will sneak into the first round. Don't know about the other, but he is probably the last tackle left on the board. Because, like, you can look at Matthew Bergeron. I love Bergeron. A lot of people kind of view him as maybe a guard. So, depends how you view Bergeron. But DeJuan Jones is kind of the last guy you're like, okay, yeah, this tackle class will fall off a cliff after him. Because then you're looking at projects. Jalen Duncan, project. Blake Freeland, project. Wanya Morris, I love Wanya Morris. I think his best football is ahead of him. Project. DeJuan Jones, though, I think you could start right away. Some of the landing spots I have here, the Raiders. I know right tackle, they got that Jermaine. I can't remember his last name. It's like Elamore. I'm going to butcher it. I'm not going to even try. Very solid right tackle, but definitely you could upgrade from him. The Patriots, you want to go to the season with Riley Reef, Trent Brown as your go-to tackles? Probably not. And then I know the Steelers be like, we just took Broderick Jones. Mike Tomlin loved this cat. I'm not saying taking him at 32, but if we see a fall from him, 49, that's looking kind of juicy. Suddenly you pair up Broderick Jones and DeJuan McBride, and I can guarantee you at the very least your run game look at a hell of a lot better. This man's a mountain, moves well for his size. I know people are going to be like, he doesn't move that well. It's like, for being 6'8", 374, this is what everyone wanted Daniel Falele to be. He wasn't. DeJuan Jones is. Love DeJuan Jones. Next, Michael Mayer. I really thought two tight ends were going to go into the first. Doesn't surprise me that one. Typically, when I was doing mock drafts, like I'd have one tight end go, but I just figured the NFL would love the consistency, that like the security blanket, the good run blocker that Michael Mayer is. And I said I think he maybe hurt his stock a little bit at the combine, coming in lighter, coming in at 249, and tested like he was like 260 because like his playing weight probably 255, 260. And if he would have tested like that, I'd been like, yeah, that's how we expected him to test like. But doing it at a lesser weight, I don't think really did him any favors. I think a few of the spots though, because like this, he's good. He's good. He's just not. There's not like a huge upside for him. I know Jason Witten's been a popular comp. I think that was probably my comp when I did my tight end rankings. Another one, it's like you could maybe say absolute ceiling, Mark Andrews. That's not bad. But potential landing spots, I think the Raiders, I think he'd be a good fit. That's the style of tight end they would be looking for. I know that they got guys there like OJ Howard and who was the other cat they brought in? I can't think of off the top of my head, but the Saints could be a landing spot. I actually want to see this. I want to say Austin Hooper. It is not. I definitely know it's not Austin Hooper. It freaking is Austin Hooper. Golly, dang it, dude. This is what happens when you doubt yourself. But the Saints, they could be looking for that security blanket. That's a guy that I've mocked to the Saints in the second round before. And the Packers, when they come back at 45 or 42, they're like, yeah, no, I projected them to take him in the first round because I thought they liked him that much. So maybe they just get him at a better value. So those are some of the spots I think he may end up. Next, I got Tyreek Stevenson. This is a cat I love. I'm a Hurricanes fan, baby. What can I say? But this is he is a big corner, 6 foot, 198, probably a press man guy, most likely. In zone coverage, you see even in man coverage sometimes you see some guesswork being done. And he was kind of exploited in zone coverage, allowed some big plays. But with his size, with his athletic ability, his feisty nature, his ability to play and press, I think he plays press exceptionally well. So I looked at some of the press teams there, the Steelers, Lions, Falcons, I think could go for him. And you'd be like, Steelers, they're going to Joey Porter. don't count our chickens yet, baby. Don't put your eggs all in that basket. Because as we've learned from night one, you never freaking know. But Stevenson he went to Georgia initially. He ended up going to the Hurricanes because he wanted to go back closer to his hometown, but he also wanted to play on the outside. They were playing in the slot, so he's got slot versatility. He's got safety size. I think he can play safety, really, if you want him to. He brings in return capabilities, too. He was a return man for the Hurricanes, so it's like he's bringing a lot to the table here. Like, if he goes ahead of Porter, it won't shock me. Just going to put that out there. Won't shock me. And then the final guy I want to talk about here before we kind of like rattle off some names and go through it is Keanu Benton. Keanu Benton, listen, I said Mozzie Smith probably sneaks into the first round here because there's not a lot of guys here that are built to stop the run in this draft. It's something I mentioned in my 7-round mock draft. That's right, I did a 7-round mock draft, and I'm about to do a day 2 mock draft for y'all. So be on the look for that a little later today, right before we stream. But I got him to 30 on my big board. This is a cat that played a lot of nose tackle at Wisconsin, but like, he can get after the passer. You can play him at 3-tech. I think you can play him in a variety of different spots along the defensive line, if I'm being honest. But there's not many guys that can really stop the run. I kind of mentioned, like, Adi Tamiwa Adabari. Like, he's not a guy I have a complete confidence in. That can be that guy. And I mean, if we're going to look at the rest of this defensive line class, I'm going to do that real quick. Like, there's Siaki Ika, but upside's kind of ew. Gervon Dexter's a bit of a project. Maybe Kobe Turner, but like Jaquelin Roy. But now we're talking about probably guys that go early day 3. Zach Pickens. Like, there's just not a lot of these guys. There really just isn't a lot of these guys. So, like, teams that did go after that in the first round. We got the Lions, the Seahawks. I know a lot of Seahawks fans are mad that they didn't go with like a defensive line player in general, but I mean, I thought the Seahawks did great. They addressed the perimeter. Now you could go and address interior, whether it's like interior of the offensive line or interior of the defensive line on day 2. Because I mean, they have the picks to do it. I think Keanu Benton is going to go very early day 2 as well, very early second round. Like I said, there's not a lot of guys that can do or are capable of doing what he can. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the others, best available prospects I think they're going to be, that I think there are in this class. As we're going to start here with Steve Avila. It was a name we also kind of heard about at the back end of the first round, potentially maybe going to the Cowboys. I'm not going to mention landing spots here because, again, I gave you 10 with landing spots. We're just going to kind of talk about some of the guys here. He has got setter guard versatility, big meaty boy. We got Cam Smith here, who I thought could have maybe snuck into the beginning or snuck into the back end of the first round. Doesn't. He's gonna be one of the corners up there that might, along with Stevenson, Porter, that could go fairly early. He's got inside outside versatility, but also a very physical corner, but flagged a lot. You got Josh Downs, probably the best receiver on the board in my opinion. The dude's a twitched up monster, but might only be a slot guy. Look at that size. Not great. 5'9", 171. Darnell Washington. A lot of people love him. I don't think he's like all that in a bag of chips, like the lateral ability. I don't think he's that dynamic. But like, I think what he brings to the table, though, like he was tight end 3 for me, man. I'm a big fan of him. Jalen Hyatt. Speed monster. Oh, he actually got up to, I should correct this. I probably corrected it in my prospect rankings, but not here. He got up to 80 on his pro day. 6 foot 180, speed demon. If you're looking for that speed, that separation, maybe go for him. Now we're starting to look at some of the linebackers here. Let's just scroll down. Again, I want to go over as many people as I can. So we got Trent Simpson, Dion Henley, 2 guys that are like just monster athletes. I think Henley's a bit more put together right now, which is kind of wild because he's only been playing linebacker for 3 years. But I think he's been more put together as Simpson, because Simpson, they just kind of like let him be a freelancer. Tank Dell, seems like I like smaller receivers apparently in this class, but there's a ton of them, like 5'8", 165. I just think I typically like, I don't like guys like Tutu Atwell, Diaz. I wasn't big fans of those. You go back, look at my content, wasn't fans of them. Tank Dell's different. He really is. Quick feet. This is a guy I think can succeed at that size. Isaiah Foskey is someone who's, I think, got just a very high floor. I think he's just going to be a good edge in the NFL. Matthew Bergeron, I mentioned him a little earlier in this video. Some people maybe view him as a bit of a guard. You got Drew Sanders, who's just freaky pass rush ability, just missed tackle monster. Julius Brents, some of us thought maybe he'd be a surprise first rounder. But I think he's going to be a good value in the second round, whether it's like the Bears, the Bengals. Like, I think he's going to be good value. Then we get into these interior players. I just hit that scroll a little too hard. Hit the scroll way too hard. So like John Michael Schmitz, you know this guy's going to be a solid starter. I bet you he goes within the first like 10 to 15 picks in the second round. Luke Musgrave, coming off the injury, only played a game and a half this past season. Didn't see much of him, but we know like what he can be as a receiving threat. So we got him there. Him in Washington and Mayer, probably the best tight ends available there. Sam Laporte you could throw into that, as you can see him a little bit further down right here. Then I got Sidney Brown. I'm higher on the consensus. If he goes like somewhere in the third round, doesn't surprise me. Tuli Toi Peloto, who's honestly like listed at 295 there at USC, came in 266 at the combine, tested like it was all right, it was fine, but it was like if you would have done that at 290, I would have been like, oh wow, ooh, probably goes in the first. But now I feel like he's just a base 4-3 end. Joe Tippmann, wonderful athlete. There at center, kind of wild. I think he's got the ability to really play all 5 positions. We'll see. I got Cedric Tillman here. You could talk about Jonathan Mingo, who I'm not going to cover in this video, but like another guy who's just big and freak athlete, but might be a bit of a Chase Claypool guy. We'll see. I don't remember. I think I may have put that as his comp. I wonder if I did. I can't remember. Keely Ringo, the fall is real. Look, guys. I'm a Tanner McKee fan. If you're not new to the channel, then welcome. This is a Tanner McKee safe place. This is a Tanner McKee group right here, man. We're a fan club. I'm a fan club, at least. Zach Charbonnet, next running back I have. He might go a little bit earlier since Gibbs did go in the first round. Derek Hall, very solid guy. Luke Whibbler, talking about those centers again. And I mean, I'll just rattle off a couple more here for y'all. We got like Clark Phillips, Keon White, who was there at the draft. He might end up going early. Michael Wilson, some people don't like. I do. I do. Like, I get it. Injury concerns are kind of a thing. We got Clark Phillips, who, again, his size, man. It's just his size sucks. 5'9", 184. It's like, oh, maybe he's just a slot only. So I think he's going to take like a Sante Samuel Jr. Fall. Garrett Williams would have got higher if not for the ACL injury this year, but he's going to be ready by July. Hendon Hooker, who was getting some first round love from like guys like Zerline, Jeremiah, or Daniel Jeremiah, ends up not going to the first one. Neither did Will Levis, but I expect to hear his name called relatively early in the second round. We got Devon A-Chain, straight speed demon. So like there's guys here. There's guys. Like day 2 is going to be fun as hell. Like this day 2 class is a lot girthier than people think. Because, I mean, a lot of people really only pegged about 15 to 16 guys with actual first-round grades and kind of viewed like, oh, but this day 2 class is pretty, like, the depth in this class isn't actually that bad. It's just the high-end talent or the top-end talent wasn't all that great. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. That's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. As always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.